We have Spectre starring Daniel Craig as 007 James Bond, and we have our villain Christoph Waltz as Hauser is the villain's name. This film, just like a lot of James Bond films, starts off really good in New Mexico, Day of the Dead. You got James Bond there, gonna kill a couple people. Well, unfortunately, he was not supposed to be there. He did, pretty much he did his own thing, wasn't supposed to be there at the beginning of the film. He ended up doing it on his own there. Well, when he ends up finally getting back to London, of course he gets scalded by M, played by Ray Fiennes, who, I gotta be honest, I felt like this was one of his best performances, even better than Harry Potter as the villain. Even though he just plays James Bond's boss, he does such a terrific job in this film, and I have to be honest, I think just because of this film, I'm starting to like Ray Fiennes a little bit better. Now, it's no disrespect to people who love Harry Potter and love him as Voldemort, but for me, I have to say he does, even though he's not in it a whole lot, he does a good job, a lot better than even some of the other people in this film. Go fine. Pretty much the whole story of Spectre is actually an organization of all different criminals from past villains in other James Bond's films, that they all actually have a connection in this film, and it's almost like all the James Bond films all together kind of come full circle. And I'm not just going to say, is it just a Daniel Craig villain, or is there more to it? I don't want to give that away for people who have not seen this film yet. Daniel Craig, people have actually said that he kind of phoned it in on this one, feels like this is his last film. Maybe it's true that it's going to be his last film. I can say maybe 2 scenes almost at the beginning of the film that were phoned in, but I really feel like he still does a good job. He still has fun playing James Bond. People have also said this is not as good as Skyfall. I agree with those people on that one too. This is definitely not as good as Skyfall, but I still think it's really good. Our villain, Christoph Waltz, he is such a great villain, but yet you do not see him that much. You see him like in 3 scenes. You don't see him for probably maybe the first 45 minutes to an hour of the film. Then you actually see him about a half an hour or so later, because it's pretty much all about James Bond and his journey to find this guy. Our villain, we needed to see the villain a lot more, and this is a great actor who, the first time I've ever seen this guy was in the movie Inglourious Basterds, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. He does such a fantastic job when he is on screen, but I think the movie should have showed a lot more with him than, to feel like just to make him like a side villain. For someone like him, he needed more screen time, I feel like. But I will tell you one person on here who does an excellent job, and he does not speak one bit in this film, and that is wrestler/actor David Bautista. He actually does such a wonderful job. I pretty much will call him the silent henchman, because he doesn't say anything, but he's not like the main villain of this film either. But when him and James Bond get in there's 2 cool things I liked about these 2 actors here, I should say about the 2 scenes. There's a car chase scene between these 2 that is excellent, and then there's a train scene that I really like where James Bond is on the train with his female co-star, and Bautista comes in, and there's a huge fight in that scene. Now, my little thing that I'm going to kind of nitpick about this film is that with James Bond, what I kind of miss from James Bond is the humor. Bautista, the silent henchman, is kicking James Bond's ass, and you think that James Bond would have maybe some kind of quirky line or some kind of funny line to come in, and he really doesn't do anything like that. But I gotta say that there were a lot of parts that could have been cut out, could have shortened it. This film is just under 2.5 hours, but I felt like that they could have probably cut out, maybe say about 15-20 minutes. The film could have been 2 hours and 10, 2 hours and 15, because I was really intrigued with this, and then I feel like they kind of really went down a down low slope with just a lot of cheesy dialogue, a lot of silly dialogue, and it was just like, almost like he just didn't care. But like I said, it really is still a recommend film for Bond fans out there. If you've seen it, cool. If you haven't seen it, I definitely say recommend, especially if this ends up being Daniel Craig's last film. I feel like he went out on a bang, he did a good job on this character, and if it is, you know what, Daniel Craig, definitely I give you a thumbs up on your James Bond. Thank you guys so much. Stay awesome.